in a loaf of bread and in beer.
Except
both have yeast in them.
Except that this is a City of Ottawa, an official government Twitter account. Say what you will about Evan Solomon. His show, he gets to run it the way he wants to run it. Okay.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Okay.
His employer doesn't like it, he'll know about it.
Well, he has the right to be wrong. I have the right to be wrong too. We all have the right to be wrong. And you know what? We're all wrong sometimes. And so, I wouldn't go around lecturing people using a platform like Evan's using to lecture people who are not getting their second, who want to hold off on getting their second vaccine, any vaccine, COVID vaccine. I wouldn't do it. And I think that, I wouldn't do a tweet like this or a series of tweets like this either. I would, I just slow down people.
But this hints at a much broader problem because taking this back to the larger audience rather than just localized here in Ottawa, this kind of thinking is not unique by any stretch to the city, the nation's capital here in Canada. I mean, California's rife with it. Washington, D.C. is rife with it. Europe has it all over the place. It seems to be, you want to talk about a pandemic. We have a pandemic of lunacy, of people who will fall into any trap if it's wrapped in the right package. They never bother to pull the bow and find out what's inside the box. They never stop and think, does this make sense? And even if they do think, does this make sense? They don't have the faculties or have not been trained to discern what makes sense and what is nonsense. And it's across the board. No matter where you go, you run into this stuff. And it's partly why we see the ability of these kind of things to take hold, whether it be climate change or COVID or whatever it is. Okay, before that, it was save the whales, save the seals, all these different ways people are manipulated emotionally without engaging intellectually. It's what the left feasts on. And more, the conservatives are left standing around going, okay, we're their leader, where did they go? Because they don't have an answer to that. They don't know how to engage people emotionally while using common sense, logic, and reason. And just, oh my God, it's enough to make you just, I understand why people disappear into the wilderness and pull, just step away from the world and say, I've had it, I want off this rock. But since I can't get off, I'm going to go find the loneliest place on this rock I can find. And I'm going to stay there because I want no more of this. I can understand that mentality.
So does that mean that you'll be starting your own compound soon?
No. It means if I do that, no one will find me other than my family.
Oh, okay. Well,
maybe you. Maybe I'll give you a compass and a map.
Well, because I was telling somebody today that if we have to start a compound, Nick, we'd probably go out to your farm and you'd welcome us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you want to say that, yes. Okay, from that perspective, yes. But I'm not going anywhere, is my point. If I did, it'd be into the bush.
I think you said it really well, Nick, when you suggested that people are, they think about things and they have emotions, etc., but they don't engage intellectually, and that's really what's missing. And when I talk about some self-doubt and self-criticism, when people think about critical thinking is not something you apply to the other person's views. Critical thinking is what you apply to your own views. You have to ask yourself, assume that what you're saying and what you're thinking might be wrong, and challenge your own thinking rather than other people's thinking. And if you do that, then you're open-minded and you look at the evidence out there, and you're not afraid to change your mind on things if in fact you're persuaded one way or the other that the point of view that you're holding is perhaps wrong. And again, I go back to Evan Solomon. Okay, and it's the idea. Okay, he starts off by saying, "This is my opinion," or words to that effect. Okay, for me, this is what I would do. If it's me, this is it. Okay, but then 5 seconds later, he's talking about, well, this is just how I feel. But, everybody else out there who's not following the science, they're idiots. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, like, how do you even square that circle? I've been trying to follow the science, as I pointed out last half hour, and I'm getting different opinions expressed to me from scientists and from the government, who's supposed to be consolidating all of this scientific opinion. And they tell me one day everything is safe and good to go with the AstraZeneca vaccine. And then, a week later, after I go ahead and get it, they tell me, oh, we're suspending it because it's not safe. Only, a month later to come back and say, okay, we've changed our mind to get it safe.
This goes back to the whole why would we believe them argument.
All I'm saying, Evan, is have a little sympathy for the people out there who are confused and not really sure what direction they want to go. Have a little sympathy. That's all I'm saying. Stop being arrogant. And the same thing with the people out there, whoever it is that wrote these tweets, okay? Not said them, wrote them, okay? A little less arrogance, a little more sympathy for people out there who don't share your views. And don't give me this, what am I supposed to do? And I've said this before, Nick, I don't have to take a backseat to anybody when it comes to understanding what it means to be, a member of an oppressed group, quote unquote, okay? I get it. But you're somehow or other, you're supposed to be, there's something wrong if you happen to be a member of a group that typically in society the way we are now, that maybe you've never been exposed to racism. Well, here's a question for these guys, okay? Whoever it is that wrote this series of tweets. What happens if I happen to be a black person, a black man, and for whatever reason I've never experienced racism? Am I a member of a privileged race? Well, by the definition that they've posted on this Twitter feed, absolutely. But I don't think that anybody in this environment that we live in today would say, okay, blacks who have not personally experienced racism, that's not because they're privileged, quote unquote. So why, if you happen to be white and you've never experienced racism, okay, well, maybe you've experienced a different kind of bigotry or prejudice or stupidity on the part of people. All of this, my answer to all of this, Nick, is sticks and stones, okay? The bottom line for me is, I don't care what you say about me. I care about what you do to me.
Well, there's also, and you're quite right, that's a very good attitude to have. But there's also the idea that this whole idea of racism in Canada, I won't call it a complete straw dog or a red herring. There certainly are incidents of racism, but that's true of every culture. No matter where you go in the world, you're going to find people who don't like other people simply because they don't look like them, talk like them, act like them, think like them, worship like them, or don't worship like them. Okay, so and it's across the globe. It's not unique to Canada. You're always going to have some of that. But I think compared to the rest of the world, it's a straw dog. We do not have rampant racism. We do not have these kinds of problems. Did I say that we don't have it at all? No, of course not, as I just explained. But it's not nearly as big a deal as we're being told it is. It does not justify having statues or historical figures torn down, having names changed on institutions because somebody was a slave owner 400 years ago. I mean, everybody involved in that incident is long dead. And by pulling down a statue, you deny people the ability to learn about them, because if they never see the figure, they never ask themselves, who was that guy? What did he believe in? Or what did she believe in?
Right.
It's just this kind of nonsense. Oh, man.
Well,
I wish I could get my hands around the college professor or the university professor who teaches this stuff as if it's some kind of great plague in the world, certainly here in Canada, and just shake them till both of those brain cells fall out.
well, here's the danger, okay? The danger is, I agree with you, Nick. I don't think that Canada is a racist country. I would be foolish to assert that there is no racism in Canada. But racism is a personal thing. It's not a societal thing. And I question the whole notion, the whole idea, the theory of systemic racism. This is human behavior, and human beings behave badly from time to time, or they behave. In this case, I think racism isn't as bad as it is stupid, but, there it is, right? But the problem I have, okay, and I'm just watching the clock here, the problem I have is that I don't see, the issue is that racism, if everybody is a racist, then ultimately nobody is a racist.
Yes, that's a great line. Yeah.
Okay, because you have to be able to distinguish between good and bad. If everybody is bad, what is good? Okay? And maybe that's too much of a philosophical question for, a Wednesday evening for our listeners. Well, no, I take that back. Our listeners get it, but,
The vast majority of other people don't.
I don't know.
That's a great paraphrase of the line from The Incredibles, by the way.
Is it?
Yes, if all of us are special, then none of us are.
Well, that's absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, talk about being special. We have to go for a special break. Top of the hour. So we'll be back in a few minutes here on the Nick and Joe Show on the Think Radio Broadcast Network.